We here at God Stories Radio are reaching out to you and your business to sponsor us for as little as $10 a month. We need you so that we can continue bringing hope, comfort, and encouragement through the power of the Christian testimony. By your business blessing us monthly, we are able to bless others weekly. To sponsor us, email godstoriesradio@gmail.com. And you don't have to be a business to be a blessing. Visit godstoriesradio.com to donate securely through PayPal. Just press the button.
You're listening to the God Stories Radio podcast with Mike, Fritz, Trish, and Tina. Listen to us live on the Mixlr app. Also, be sure to follow us on iHeartRadio and you will never miss an episode.
And welcome, everyone, to God Stories Radio, session 183. I'm Fritz.
Oh, I'm Mike.
And I'm Tina.
Thursday night.
Thursday night.
Right here, under the lights of the garage.
The garage, yeah.
The box in a box.
Yes. Thursday night. I will look forward to it all week.
Oh, you got that right.
It's a special place here.
What a blessing. It really is.
We were talking about all the people that helped make this little place happen.
There's a bunch of folks.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, good memories.
Bunch of folks to thank. I'll tell you what. One day I'll get to.
Well, I remember, let's see, it was Jack, and I think Randy came in.
Yeah, Randy laid the carpet.
Right.
And then Jack did a lot of the
drywall and
the construction work. Helped me frame a lot of stuff.
And who supplied all of it, or a lot of the stuff?
AJ. Who is no longer with us.
No.
And I don't know if his wife listens or not, but God bless you. We sure do miss him.
Yeah, he's always a part of the studio, which is cool.
Mm-hmm. He came and sat in through a few sessions with us.
Yeah, that's right, he did.
He just said he would never talk on the microphone.
Yeah. But you know what's really cool, too, is because of him, we have connected with some other friends of his. So Pastor Jeff Orcutt
right.
and his wife, Kathy Orcutt. And then also Pastor Jose over in Venezuela. So it's been really cool to, have all these contacts and sort of be in touch with them because it kind of helps keep his memory alive, too.
You don't know where that little leg goes, on who you know, and it goes to this one and then to that one. And we're all the way down in Argentina.
Yep. And it started with a nudge.
Yeah.
It always starts with a nudge.
I know, man. I know he's up there probably tickled as a peach.
I'm
But I knew him and Pastor Jeff would hit it off.
Yep.
What's going on over there this week? We got any Facebook likes?
We do. We want to say thank you to Lance Walker.
Lance Walker. I went to school with him. Love that guy.
Thank you, Lance.
Thank you, Lance.
He actually sent a picture of us in a garage band from 1985. Yeah, I'll show it to you. Not now because you'll laugh on the mic.
I'm sure we would.
And then we also want to say thank you to Mona Lee. She's a friend of mine.
Okay.
Thanks, Mona.
Thank you for liking
that.
us on Facebook. And again, anybody out there who has not liked us yet on Facebook, and wherever you are and you are able to do that, please do so. We love it.
Yeah, and
Fritz loves it.
if you guys don't mind, share us with your friends. Tell your friends about us. Say, hey, I listened to this awesome podcast, God Stories Radio. It helps bring me some encouragement. I get to hear, how the power of God has moved in other people's lives. Turn people on to something positive. They could sure use it in this world.
Positivity. We need it. Bunches of it. That's for sure.
Yes, we do.
All right. That's only Facebook like. Any countries?
Still at 93 that we know of.
Okay.
93.
All right. Anything exciting going on over there on the other side of the table? Good week?
Yeah, it's all right. It's a good week. It's riding a wave.
Not running the week, huh?
No. Actually, it is because it's a 5-day straighter. And I do miss that weekend, that day off in the middle of the week. So, yeah, running through the week.
Running through the week.
Yes.
With Mikey. That's awesome.
Uh,
All right, then. So, let's see.
what about you? What? How's your week been?
My week's been great.
I'm sure it has.
Yeah,
with your new
actually
gig.
starting a new gig. I am the new technical director at First United Methodist Church, and my first weekend is this weekend on Sunday, and I have been there all week helping to upgrade the equipment. They bought a whole new console and.
Oh, I bet you love
all
that.
Yeah, it's not work.
Toys.
Yeah, toys.
It's not work. It's passion.
hmm
Big difference. So just having a great time helping them out, and look forward to helping to usher in the spirit in that place, creating the atmosphere. Glad to be part of it.
All right.
It's going to be awesome.
Amen to that. That's for sure.
That's your dream job, isn't it?
It is. And as a matter of fact, me and Mike Lohman, the one that wrote the song on the beginning of the intro that you heard, we were at not LDI, I think it's called WXI or whatever, in the Orlando Convention Center today. So we went over there and looked at lights and soundboards and audio, and we just spent the day
They
over
played
there
with
having
their
a
toys.
ball.
Yeah.
Just had a ball. Went and got some lunch. Had a great day. Wonderful day. Living the dream.
Fantastic.
Yeah, buddy. All right. What's going on with our guests?
Our guest, well, we have another husband and wife set up by Father that I would say he's probably one of our biggest listeners. He when I first I met him through the security team at Real Life, and started talking about God Stories Radio, and it was a point where he was working, and he had like an hour drive, I think it was, back and forth, one way to work and an hour back, and so he listened to all 100 and whatever it was at that point in time within a matter of a few months.
I know he really spurred me on to get the website updated and stuff like that, because he says, "Look, I'm only 2 or 3 away. You guys need to.
You got to give me the
You
rest
got
of
to
them."
get cranking."
Yes, sir.
I loved it.
Yep. So he's a good friend and a brother, and again, I just like that Father has set up the last few, that there's a husband and wife sitting here, so kind of like where they can go back and forth off each other. So I give you Ray and Sarah Flannery.
Welcome,
Yeah,
guys.
welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hello, hello. It's good to be back.
Good to be here.
Yeah.
First time.
Second time.
But that's right. Ray was here on session 160 with our 5-year anniversary.
That's right. We had a ball.
Yes, we did.
We
John
had-
Durham, the Rev, in the house.
It was fun. It was great. Loved every minute of it.
We had to shut it down. It would have gone. We'd still be doing it.
Yeah.
Until the coffee ran out.
And the sun came up and the rooster started crowing.
Yeah.
That's right.
But
And the wife start calling.
yeah. Well, you were online at the time, so
was.
you
I
knew
knew where you
exactly
were.
where I was.
Yeah, she was actually helping you out, Fritz, on the keyboard on.
Yes, she was.
Answering
We were
questions.
chattering away, and I think you were chatting with somebody on there, weren't you?
was. Yeah.
That night.
Yeah.
I'm going, man. I need her every weekend.
Yeah, that was
Answering questions.
the lady we were praying for her father, I believe it was.
Yeah.
That wasn't feeling well or something. He was in the hospital for something.
Yep. Remember.
I do remember.
Yeah. She
Like-
still crosses my mind. I pray for her whenever she does.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You've always been good about that. That's for sure.
Yeah. I try.
Oh yeah, I know when you're praying for me. That's for sure.
Amen to that.
Well, I guess I'll dive on in if y'all are ready for it.
Let's do it.
Go for
We've
it.
been
Alright,
waiting a
alright.
long time for this.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. 160, we're at what, 183 now? And Mikey calls me out like 3 times during 160. He's like, yeah, and soon to have Ray Flannery's testimony.
That's right.
Well, we were
He
kind.
does that.
in the flesh, right?
We
no
were
pressure.
we were kind of trying to do a double thing here. You know, a good friend of yours,
Oh, yeah.
Chris Miller, I think his name is.
Yep, correct.
And we were trying to get it so if you came to give your testimony, that he could come in and kind of like feel it out, so he could give his. But I mean, this could be just as good. You can tell him that you were on and listen to it, and maybe that'll spark it. I don't know.
You hear that, Chris Miller? We're calling you
out.
And the tradition continues.
Hey, if it works, stick with it.
That's right.
All right, so our story is basically, well, I guess this is going to be more my story and how it's affected her. We were raised very differently. My parents were more of a kind of free range, go out, street lights come on, come home, they hollered for us, come home.
Where'd you grow up? Where were you
in
born?
Ocoee.
Oh, okay. Wow,
So-
a Florida boy.
Yep, Florida, but that was back in 1979. So that was very old school Ocoee. So it was kind of like Claremont about
You
what
have to look it up to
Yeah.
know what he's talking about.
yeah. It was kind of like Claremont 20 years ago.
Like fields and
Yes.
Yes, lots of
Okay.
orange groves,
Yes.
pine trees.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot. You had to go into Pine Hills to go shopping. There was, there was nothing in Ocoee.
right.
Kind of like Claremont was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, I grew up very kind of free range, small neighborhood, and she grew up not so much free range. Mom and dad took her everywhere. Did everything. Might go across the street.
Yeah. I
Here
had
or
a
there.
couple neighborhood friends, yeah.
Yeah. So, very different ways of being brought up. I wasn't raised in the church. She was. So we had tried to go to church a couple times and never worked out. So my first churching experience was when I was 18 or 19 years old. My parents started to go to church, and they're like, "Hey, we want you to go to church." And we're like, "Okay, why? What's the deal?"
Uh-huh.
So they said, "Look, just go twice a month. Twice a month. Just get a taste of it." And I was like, "Okay, So we started going to church, and it was all right. And then I was sitting down talking to my dad one time, and I was like, "What? What's your push for us to go to church all of a sudden? Here I am, an adult now, and you want me to go to church?" And my dad said, he said to me, and I'll never forget this. He says, "I don't want you going through life thinking that everything you have, you accomplished, because everything you have is from God." He goes, "I went through my entire life thinking I earned this, I got that, I worked for this, I got this, I. He goes, "Now I'm in my 50s and I'm finally realizing that, no, I didn't do any of that. He did it. He provided that. He gave me this." He goes, "I just don't want you going through life missing out on the real gift." And I was like, wow.
Wow.
That's deep.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah, right.
It did. It hit me. It hit me good. It hit me real good. So I was like, then I started taking it more serious.
Mhm.
So started going to church. What do they call it? On fire for Christ. Listening to the music. Just. I'm like, I'm all in. But I never was really learning anything. So, but I didn't realize it. I thought, I'm on fire here. This is great. Love it. Love it. Love it. The job that I was working, I traveled a lot. So I was getting ready to go to Thailand, and I went to a different church. Some friends invited me. They were doing an altar call, and they're like, "If you're getting this funny feeling in your stomach and you need to come up and be baptized and this and that." And I'm sitting there going, I got nothing. No funny feeling, nothing. I'm like, something wrong with me? What's going on? So as I was leaving, though, and this was probably the very first time, now that I'm saying it, that I kind of heard God speak to me. And it was, "You need to be baptized, but not here." It's like, okay. So I called my mom. I'm driving home, and I called my mom. I'm like, "Hey, Mom, I need to get baptized." She's like, "Okay, well, do you know what that means?" She goes through the whole motherly thing of what it all means and everything. I'm like, "Yeah, I get it all." And I told her what had happened. And she's like, "Huh, all right, we'll look into that then." So needless to say, before I left for Thailand, I got baptized. And like most people, didn't really follow. You get baptized, you go through the motions, and then still kind of do whatever it is you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But that was like a step. It was kind of a step. So we go to Thailand, and I meet Sarah's dad
Oh, wow.
in Thailand,
Wow.
And my uncle.
and her uncle. Yes.
Isn't it funny how you have to go like halfway around the world to meet people in your own hometown?
We grew up 6 miles apart and didn't even know it.
That cracks me up. That happens to me all the time.
That's
too.
why you know it's a God thing.
That's right.
E-
Yep.
Exactly, because usually you meet the girl,
Mhm.
and then you try to impress the parents.
Yes.
Well, I met the parents, and then had to impress the girl.
Right.
Exactly.
Wow.
So it was a little backwards, but like she said, that's when you know it was a God thing. It was set up because we actually went to the same church
What?
on different
on
days.
different days. Yeah. I went on Friday nights, she went on Sundays.
Wow.
So never
Yeah.
met
That's cool.
for a year.
Yeah,
Or
we met at work. I ended up the owner of the company that he worked for was friends of ours, and they needed a receptionist. So I ended up working in the office. He was in the shop. So we kind of got to know each other there. And then I think you went with your parents to like a picnic or something they had on a Sunday after church, because you don't normally go on Sunday, but he went that day, and we're like, I didn't know you went here, and he's like, I didn't know you went here. So it was kind of funny.
And that was after Thailand.
Yeah,
Right.
That was
yeah.
after I'd already met her parents and everything. But that just shows you God's timing,
Mm-hmm.
because she's like, what if we met earlier? You know, we could have started our lives earlier and maybe had kids earlier. I'm like,
Oh
Honey?
no! Oh no! No kids earlier.
Oh,
I had my kids. I was 23. It was plenty early.
but I told her, I said, if we would have met any earlier, you would have had absolutely nothing to do with me. There never would have been, you wouldn't have looked at me twice.
You
Yeah,
wouldn't
it's
have
funny.
been ready
Tina and
for
I
her.
have that conversation quite frequently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what if we would have met then? You wouldn't have liked me.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Because, I mean, like I said, living in Ocoee, she lived in Pine Hills. We had to go to Pine Hills, so we shopped at the same places. We went to the same places. We probably passed each other several times, but God's timing
Mm-hmm.
is what it's all about. So, meet the parents, meet the daughter, and I knew right away because she was the first girl that I could not look in the eyes. It was the weirdest thing to me because I would, I look at her, I'm like, and I lower my head down and,
I didn't notice.
but I knew there was something there. So then we started dating, and it was like, I got to convince this girl to marry me, So
Yeah, at some point you got to figure out how to look her in the eye.
exactly.
You can only get so far.
She starts worrying, I got something in my teeth, or I'm like, what's going on with this?
My eyes are up here.
I swear. But it was great. So we were already going to the same church, so we got married in that church, and then we ended up staying in that church for a couple years. My brother and sister got married in that church. I got married in that church. I mean, it was just her family was there, my family was there, everybody was there.
How long did you guys date for?
Year and a half.
Okay.
It was planned for
2
2 years.
Went to Virginia. My family lives in Virginia, so we went up there one Christmas, and a relative of ours, he's like, what the heck are you waiting for? And we're like, well, I don't know.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, you love each other, you want to get married, what are you waiting for? I'm like, I don't know. So we bumped up the date.
She ended up planning an entire wedding in about 3 months. So we figured it would take about 6 to 8 months to plan it, and so we were giving ourselves another year there. She planned it in about 3 months, so she made some calls like, yeah, we can go up to this date, and just pushed it all ahead.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I am a planner. That's
You must be
I
to
am.
pull that off.
She is very much a planner.
Yeah. I had my little book, and every job I got, I'd take it with me if I could, sitting at a desk, and I'd get my free time, and I'd plan away.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun for me.
Yeah.
Tried to get her to come to Vegas while I was doing that job. I was like, baby, let's just come here. We can save a bunch of money. I'll just fly you up here. We'll get married here. Let's go. No, I've already got the flowers, and I've already got the cake, and it's ready.
And that's more romantic, right? When you get to do it your way and stuff like that.
It was great.
Some people do it twice, so they get to do it their way.
Hey, we just wanted to be real sure.
Hashtag just saying.
That's awesome. So we get married. We stayed at that church for a couple years, and I started realizing that I'm not going anywhere. You know, I'm trying. 5 years later, we actually start having kids. The kids are going to the youth over there. Then the youth starts kind of dwindling, and it's just like, man, I'm not getting anything. Then my buddy Charlie invited me to Real Men over at Real Life. 7 years ago now.
No, it's like a 7 years. Yeah, 2010, 8 years.
Ooh, 8 years ago. So he invites me to Real Men, and I finally start to realize that I don't know anything. And John Durham, who was on with us last time, he pointed out to me, he's like, you know, when you grow that fast, but you don't know the word and you're not in the word, he's like, you're like a weed. You're all big and flowery on the outside, but you've got no roots. And as soon as a storm comes by or something, boom, you're gone. Well, I was uprooted, you know? So I start to figure it out. And that Real Men group was the best thing for me. That changed me unbelievably. I mean, I like to think, I hope you've noticed.
Yes.
Okay, good.
You would come home all excited after church, you know. You remember, yes, you know, we had the best time, you know, and he would come home like, 10:30. So I'm like, I know he's in his element. You know, he's talking with guys. He's getting out of the house a little bit. He's fellowshipping with, you know, fellow Christians, and not just Christians, but Christian men.
Yes.
That can help guide him too. Because, you know, you can only get so far with your wife.
Right.
Because we're female, we're a little different, you know, and it's your wife.
Yes, agree.
So he can get a little bit of outside input.
Well, you said the word. You said fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the most powerful things these guys have going for them. And for women, too.
Yes.
Because when we get together, it's kind of the same thing for us as well.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to be around other Christians, and you need to be around people who are building you up and encouraging you and supporting you when you're feeling weak. And I've watched a lot of you guys, because you've all gone to Real Men, and you've all sort of got this great brotherhood, I like to call it.
Yep, that's what it is.
Yeah, this brotherhood of men who care for each other and who step in when things aren't going great, you know, and say, hey, I'm willing to help you here, or I'm willing to pitch in here, or what can I be praying for you? I mean, those are just such valuable things in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And most men don't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're raised to think, to act like you know it all, to act like you've got it. You've got it under control. Quit your crying. There's no crying in baseball. Step up, pull your boots on, get to work. You got it. You don't need nobody.
Right. You're the leader. You're supposed to, you know, that's it.
Right.
You're it.
I'll give you something to cry about.
Right. Yeah.
My dad said that to me a number of times. He said,
that was my mom. My mom would say that to me a lot.
Are you bleeding, son?
Mm-hmm.
Get up.
Mm-hmm.
Quit your whining.
That's right.
But what I've actually come to realize too is that, you know, we are to lead the house. We are to lead. But how are we taught to lead? By serving, by helping.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not to follow me. You know, go that way, do that, do this. It's no, here, look, let me show you. This is how we're going to do this. And you lead by example, show them, give them the example, and then watch them do it. So where's a guy going to learn that from? Other guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you've got nobody to show you, then how are you going to show somebody else?
Right.
Especially if you were brought up with a father that didn't act that way as well.
Right.
So you're going to do what you saw.
But
through
how
that.
are we so shallow-minded that we think that no other guy in the room could have ever experienced what we're going through? So I certainly don't want to share.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't want to put myself out there because nobody's probably ever gone through what I'm going through.
Right. Well, and like Ray said, for me, especially for me, being one of the biggest introverts you would have ever want to know, Real Men, it just changed everything. My outlook on everything. My, again, brothers, friends that, you know, I would leave on Monday nights, especially with the group that we had with Paul and Randy, Fritz, and so on and so forth. I would leave and thank Father on my way home for the friends, the brothers that I have never had in my whole life like this. And it is. It's just something else.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mike, because they become your family. You know, they do become your actual brothers. And, you know, the thing is, it's a brotherhood for life and for eternity.
Amen.
Yeah.
You know, so once you're done with this world, guess what? You're still going to
Yeah.
be friends and brothers on the other side,
Yep.
you
That's it,
know,
exactly.
which is a really exciting thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like I was saying before, how you know you got to learn from somebody else. So like when we were first married, she would start talking, you know, the Bible and stuff, and you know I'd kind of nod my head and be like, "Mm-hmm, yep," and then start looking through the Bible and trying to figure out what was that. Okay, that was. Oh, okay, that makes sense now. And then go, oh yeah, you know, well I read this and I was getting that. You know what I mean? So it was a real, you know, kind of awkward position for me. But as you know, being surrounded by these guys and learning the Bible and basically them constantly telling you, look, you've got to get in it. You've got to know it. Started doing it, started learning it, started listening to it, started, you know, just left and right. Then we can actually carry on a good conversation with each other. You know, she's like, hey, well, I saw this post on Facebook. It was this, you know, Philippians. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's where this happened. And, you know, and then we could sit there and go for, you know, a little while on what that does and how we apply it today. And,
The context, yeah.
yeah, and how we can use that with the kids or whatever it is, you know. So that's grown me drastically. The next thing is hearing God and having faith, because one thing we learned pretty early on in our marriage before kids was that God doesn't always talk directly to you. Sometimes he talks through you or through someone else.
Right.
So before we moved out to Claremont, you know, we were living in Ocoee. I did what I call the redneck move. I moved 7 houses down. You know, I moved out of my parents' house in a pickup truck and just went 7 houses down the road, and there we are, parked right there.
Yeah, but did you ever have a pool in the back of your pickup truck?
It was more of a spa. Little
I'd high five you for that one if I could reach you. That was good.
But yeah, it was. So needless to say, that was the house that I bought. That's what we got married and we moved into. My brother moved out to Claremont. We come to visit him, and we're pulling into the neighborhood, and Sarah's like, "I had a dream about this place." I'm like, "Okay." Now you got to understand, at this point, I'm a weed Christian. You know what I mean? I'm not versed in, you know, the two become one, and you know, being selfless and dying to self and listening to what God's got to say. It was more about the hype at the time. So I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. So we go and we hang out at his house for a little bit, and we're leaving, and she.
Well, hold on. They hadn't bought the house yet. It was an inventory home that they were looking at.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, the night before, I had a dream about the symbol of the neighborhood. Not necessarily the name or anything, but there was a symbol of a sun. And when I saw it, I was like, I have seen that, and it was clear as day to me. And I was like, well, maybe that's for your brother and your sister-in-law, you know, that they're supposed to move in here. I didn't think it was for us yet, you know, but sorry.
No, you're good.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I had to interject.
No, that was a key point.
Yeah.
And so she's like, you know, we're supposed to be here. I'm like, all right, well, let's go we'll look in the model home and see what the prices are. Well, my first house wasn't very much, but this one was twice as much as my first house, which still really technically wasn't that much.
Yeah, it was still a good deal. Claremont was not big at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it was enough to freak me out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't take much. He's
House
a saver.
shopping.
I'm not.
Yeah, house shopping is scary.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know, I was the only one working, and I told her, I'm like, I don't know how we're gonna buy this house. I said, there ain't no way. I said, we can move across the street for about 20 grand less and get more house. She's like, no. She's like, God wants us here. And again, I'm kind of like, God wants us here. You know, I'm like, this is just where you want to be. You know, not dying to self and just thinking she's being selfish too. I'm like, well, if you want to move out here, you're gonna have to find a job. He said, that's the only way I see that happening. And not what?
2 weeks.
2 weeks later, my sister-in-law's friend called my sister-in-law. Was like, do you know anybody looking for a job? She's like, we need a receptionist.
Yeah, and I actually ended up working for your brother too. I ended up with 2 jobs,
Wow.
2 part-time jobs. Yeah, within 2 weeks.
There's a little confirmation right there.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So
Just a little one.
that's when it all started kind of clicking. Then later on we get into real life, real men, and then it starts to flow. Everything starts to really come together. Start being a lot less selfish, more selfless, trying to know her needs, trying to see her needs without her actually telling me. And another big night, John touched on it back on, the 5-year anniversary. That Monday we talked about, you got to know when to fight for your wife and not fight with your wife. And I came home that night, I call her on the phone, and she's like, okay, we'll see you in a little bit. I worked 10 minutes away at the time. And I get home and just boom, World War II's going on in there. I'm like,
Doesn't take long.
like, what happened? It's only been 10 minutes. But, at that point, the selfish me is like, well, I had a crappy day too, and I don't want to, you know what I mean? But I didn't do it. I walked in there, grabbed the girls, took them. She was cooking dinner, bathed the girls, got them ready for bed, brought them back out. Dinner was ready. Mom was chilled. That's all she needed.
Yep. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you do.
Hashtag just saying.
Yeah, yes.
But that's the trick, is identifying it.
You got it, brother.
And there's still times where I can identify it and still choose to be selfish.
Can I just say, though, Christian husbands, they are the best.
Yes.
They really
Yes.
are.
Yep.
Because they really do care.
Yes.
And they really are trying to die to self and pay attention and
Yes.
care about those things.
Yes.
So
And I don't expect him to be perfect, but I know that he
Thank
will.
God.
No pressure there. Woo! No, but it's, they'll admit it, when they mess up.
Yep.
And they'll come back and like, you know what? Can you pray for me in this area?
Yep.
I faltered there, and I know that I keep doing it, and that's an area I need to work on. Can you just pray for me and give me the extra little help that I need there? Because, like you said, your dad wanted you to know that it's not on your own power. It's through God.
Right.
And now that
That's
he's
right.
realized that, he's more than willing to say, you know what, I'm going to screw up. But I know that with you by my side and praying for me and with me, that we can get through it, and then I can get better, and,
Yep. Yeah, you've been a huge help. And there's been times I've been just having the most just the lousiest week ever. And, it'll be a good day or a good part of the day, right? And I'll give her a call. She's like, well, I'm praying for you. I'm like, oh, I know.
Yeah, you feel it,
Yeah.
right?
I'm like,
Yeah.
there's only one reason that I'm feeling this good during this lousy week. And I thank you very much. But that's the biggest thing, is she's been very patient.
Mm-hmm.
Very patient.
God's working on me. That's my thing.
She's learning patience, and I'm
Yeah.
just learning, period. But,
No, trust me, I'm learning a lot, too.
but it's been really great, especially walking through with her 19 years now. So,
Wow.
yeah. It's
Congratulations.
That's awesome.
It's pretty rare to find. I mean, she was 18, I was 22. Well, just shy.
Yeah. Almost 19 and almost 23. So
Right.
We were
Yeah.
still babies. You look back and we're like, I can't believe our parents let us get married. That's just crazy.
I know.
It was crazy. But
we were old in our minds. We were more mature.
Yeah.
So
we thought about a lot before we did anything.
yeah.
But so, and when it comes to hearing God, like I was saying, not only do you, like, people like, is it audible? Is it a feeling? Is it a this? Is it a that? A lot of times for me, it's out of her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
She's always been way more in tune to hearing God than I am. When I do hear him, it's like an audible in my head. So at my
He's
last...
gotta yell at you.
Yeah, he does. Hard of hearing. Hashtag just saying.
That's a theme.
Yeah. Is that the name of this podcast?
Could be the name of the podcast.
That's it, man.
Hashtag just
Yes.
saying. And you got to say it saying, S-A-Y-I-N. Saying.
But
So-
the good thing you don't wait for the 2x4 upside the head, though.
Oh, sometimes he does. He's Sometimes. Not often, but yeah.
Maybe a tree limb.
We try to avoid that, though. We try to learn.
We really do. Yeah, I try to be alert, be attentive of it all. But like at my last job, for 2 years, I was just like, oh, I can't stand this. It just, she's like, God's trying to teach you. God don't need to teach me anything. He needs to get that guy out of here, and they need to tell him to get rid of him, and he needs to do this. And she's like, no, God's trying to teach you something. I'm like, oh.
No.
So, yeah, I'm like, not me. No way. He ain't. I know it all. I don't need to be taught nothing. Nah, I needed to be taught something.
That's when God likes to shrink your ego just a little.
And
humble pie.
That's what men suffer mostly with, right? It's pride and ego and things of that nature. And that's another thing too. I think with a Christian man, they are not as inclined to be caught up in those areas because they're so aware of it already. Right. And God is working on them. Yes. In those specific areas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I was first going to Real Men and we'd first gotten out here, John Durham during one of our groups, he was like, can you give your wife and your family to Christ? Do you trust him ultimately with your wife and your family? And I was like, yeah. He's like, really? You can just hand them over? I said, that's easy, because I don't know nothing about being a dad. I don't know nothing about being a husband. I said, I actually have a hard time giving my work over to Christ because I think I know everything about that. And that was the honest to God truth. It was just that I have a hard time giving that over because I know how it needs to go. I know what needs to happen. I know what steps need to go, this, blah, 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 blah. But then once I realized when I was, and this is what she was talking about, I had to learn. Mm-hmm. When I'd start getting frustrated with what was going on and decisions that were being made, I would just stop and pray. And man, it would make it so much easier. Mm-hmm. Just give it all to him, let him take it. Mm-hmm. And that's basically, I'm assuming, what I needed to learn.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is the hardest thing to hand over, I think, is our careers. Because to men, our status is very important. And we derive our self-worth from that status. I know I've struggled with that. And here in the now, I've struggled with that. So I get that, man. That is so true.
Yeah.
So true.
It's a hard one to hand over.
Yeah, it is.
But like I was saying, I think that's what I was there to learn, was to give it to God. Mm-hmm. Give it all to God. Mm-hmm. Not just bits and pieces, but give everything to God. Because once I started doing that more often, there was a situation that came up at work, and every time I'd go into a meeting or whatever, I'd always pray that I started to always pray that God would give me his words, whatever it is he wants to be heard. So I'm going into this meeting with just the owner and the CFO, and I pray, God, just give me your words, be there, be in me. So I walk in, and they just start hammering on me, just bam, 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 bam. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I've been with this company for 10 years. They're like, oh, you're doing this and you're doing that and you're going out here and you're doing this and you're doing that. And I'm just sitting there listening to them, just getting blasted. And I'm like, I go right to prayer. God, what do I do? Mm-hmm. And clearly I hear, it was like a movie where all the background noise just kind of fades away. Mm-hmm. And I hear, are you going to follow me or self-preserve? I'm like, huh? I might have even actually kind of looked up a little bit at the time. I'm like, what was that? And and again, clearly, are you going to follow me or self-preserve? Because the easiest thing would have been was just, oh, no, it's no big deal, this and that, blah, 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 and just sat back and collected my paycheck and, went through life. But I said, no, I'm going to follow you. And before I knew it, I had words coming out of my mouth that I couldn't think that fast. You know what I mean? and it wasn't bad. It was actual truth. Mm. And it was, hey, I've been here 10 years. You hear something third party and you're going to jump on me? All of a sudden I'm a bad guy? And just going on and on and on. And the next thing you know, the whole room, the whole demeanor changes. And it's like, oh, well, but no, and it was all straight up God the whole time. And they're like, well, what are we going to do? And I said, I'm going to pray about it. Well, are you going to stay? I don't know. So I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to talk to my wife. I'm going to go home. I'm going to pray about it. I'll let you know by Friday. And they're like, oh, okay. And the rest of that week, man, they were like, oh, hey,
It was a great work experience the rest of that week, wasn't it?
It was. It was absolutely great. I mean, their whole demeanor changed. Everything changed because and I felt good, And when I decided to leave there, I went from a rather large company, guaranteed salary, everything's taken care of, wife and 2 kids at home, health insurance and all that, to becoming a partner in a small company, no health insurance, got to get your own, you know what I mean? Is the money there? Is the money not there? You go from salary to commission, and it's like, this is what God wants me to do. And it's the second time he took me out of a place that didn't make sense to the world. Why are you doing that? That doesn't make sense. You got a wife, you got kids, you got this, you got that, you got a guarantee. What are you doing? That's how I knew it was God. Because when I was able to look back at the first time and go, oh, hey, that's what he did right there. He did the same thing here. But I actually heard him this time. The first time was more kind of a feeling, kind of a, I wasn't as in tune. I wasn't reading the Bible. I wasn't really tied in. So it was more just kind of a nudge, kind of like a, hey, yeah, go that way, But the second time was a definite, no, are you gonna stand with me, or are you gonna self-preserve? What are you gonna do? So as you grow in the Bible, and as you learn this, and you learn the the verses and everything, and how he works and how he worked, then you start to hear him. When you need him, that's when you hear him. And tons of credit to this one too, because she doesn't stop. She's always in the Bible, always, constantly. And then when you see it, you're like, ooh, I need to get my Bible. It's like I need to
Guilt
see
trip.
it. Not a guilt trip, just a constant reminder.
Yeah.
Just a great reminder.
Yeah.
So now that pretty much catches us up to today.
Yeah.
And I've actually helped her because she used to never serve. Always going to church, always reading the Bible, always in the Word, but never served.
Taking that first step is really hard for me.
Yeah.
I know that they'll accept me, but I'm scared, like, what if I start it and then I don't like it, or, I can't do it all the time, and I feel like I'm letting somebody down, even though you're volunteering, they expect you to be there, so.
Overthinker.
Yes, I am an overthinker.
Oh, gee, where have I heard that before?
Is that another hashtag? Just saying.
I was about to do it.
Say that.
Hashtag
I don't know why
overthinker.
I was getting that vibe over here. I got ESPN or something.
That's the steel plate picking up ESPN.
That's what that is.
But so, as once learning the Bible, once getting to know Christ, and of course I keep going back to Real Men, because that's been my biggest growth and constant growth. John Durham, hey, we're the men. We are to lead our families. We are to lead the church. We are to serve. So, I'm serving in several capacities
all the time, which is fine. That's his gift, and I know that.
Right.
So, we've gone through it a couple of times before, where you're like, okay, that's your gift, but you got to have balance. You got to know when to say no. You can't just be the number one guy all the time, because he kind of is. I mean, he gets phone calls all the time, which is fine, and I'm glad that he's able to help and do it. But sometimes it's like, you got to have family time. Your girls need to know that you're still around and you're their dad, and they do see you helping, and it's great. He sets a great example for them, but at the same time, you got to have that balance.
Well, the church has no problem utilizing the willing.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
No.
Right.
No problem whatsoever. And I'm gonna be faced with the other side of those challenges, after all these years, and I'm gonna be the guy that needs some help.
Right.
So I'm gonna, be calling on the Lord for guidance and direction, because at the end of the day, those are people's lives, and if they're willing to serve, great, but don't you dare take advantage of
Oh yeah.
of any of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've stopped serving in certain capacities because it was like, okay, as soon as we get some more people, then
Right.
then I'll go do this, then I'll go do this, and finally I just realized as long as I'm doing it, as long as I'm the I'm gonna keep doing it,
Right.
and nobody's gonna fill in.
Right. He
So-
could be stopping somebody else from being able to step up
Right.
That's a good
and
point.
have a turn.
That's a really
So-
good point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
So, but she's actually decided to start serving in a couple different capacities too. So
Fantastic.
once she
Yeah.
got started, she kind of snowballed too. But I just told her, I said, look, I said, just be honest with yourself and be honest with them. You know,
Right.
if you can't do it, you can't do it.
Right.
Don't. There's no guilt trip. There's none of that.
No pressure. Yeah.
No pressure whatsoever. You got to be able to serve with an open heart.
Right.
If you're not serving with a pure heart, you're not doing yourself any good. You're not doing Christ any good. You're not doing anybody else any good.
Right. You
Because
just
people
become
can see it.
resentful, and
Yeah.
it's downhill from there.
That's it exactly.
But I love volunteering. I mean, what I do, I was actually there today volunteering at church, and
Mhm.
it's like a fellowship because we're able
Yes.
to work and fellowship at the same time. So it's great. I love it.
And
you
I,
know?
I see you serving and your daughters along
Mhm.
your side at
Yep.
the other door.
Yep.
And that's a good thing to do as well, to
Yep.
teach them at an early age.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they love
I
it.
love it. Yeah.
The oldest one is now doing kid life.
Yep. She's in the nursery with the 2 and 3-year-olds.
Yep.
How old are your kids?
Jocelyn is 14 and Aubrey's 11.
Oh.
So yeah.
Oh, you've got an Aubrey?
Yep.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
did.
that's cool. I have
He-
an Aubrey Faith.
That's
Aubrey-
awesome. Yeah,
Aubrey
we love that name.
Elizabeth.
We never heard that name until we named ours Aubrey. It's,
Yeah.
it's funny how that works.
Yep.
How do you spell it?
Aubrie.
Just like
That's the
your
way you
Yeah,
spell it.
Aubrey.
see? More feminine,
Yeah.
right?
That's cool.
Yeah, yep. I
Very
ran into
cool.
a lady at Target, same thing.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's neat. She's like, "What did you say?" And I was like, "I just called my daughter." She's like, "No, we have the same. Our daughters have the same name." And she's like, "How do you spell it?" And I told her, and she's like, "Me too." So you kind of get that, connection with somebody that way too. It's kind of neat.
Yeah.
It is.
So.
Yeah. So now that we've been married for 19 years, and as we've grown in Christ together, not just in our own relationship, but as we've grown in Christ too, we've started doing marriage classes.
I say facilitate, not lead, because we're
Right.
learning alongside everybody
Sure.
still.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's when we did the singles group. We always used to say that we facilitated
Mhm.
it. We didn't lead it, or
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
One of the tricks we've learned is that we'll keep the same book, and every time we do one, we just use a different color ink,
Yeah. Just go back.
so that you
Oh,
can
nice.
look,
Yeah.
where you've come from. You can
Right.
you can see your growth, you
Yeah.
know, as you've changed and as you've grown with each other.
Yeah, it has how God has changed you and your mindset too.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's really powerful to go
yeah.
back and see where you've come from and where you are now, and
What a great idea.
yeah, it's really neat.
It is. It's awesome. So our
And we're
big-
not doing it to cheat. We're doing it to learn.
Yeah. That is a trick too. Is you
Yeah.
really got to force yourself to go back and do it all again and answer it honestly, because it's so easy
Yeah.
just to go, that one looks good.
Yeah, been there, done that.
We'll leave it at that. But one thing I have been learning as during my walk is that there seems to be a lot of just kind of numb times, where you don't feel like you're growing and you don't feel like you're losing anything, but you just feel kind of numb, limbo. And then you start looking back and realizing, okay, well, the whole reason I started listening to my spree of God Stories Radio was because I was having a hard time praying. I used to pray all the way in and all the way back from work, and I was just like, man, my brain is just all over the place. It's like I can't focus on anything. And Mikey had given me the God Stories Radio card, and it was sitting in my center console. I was like, oh, yeah. So I just hit it up right then and there, and then just started rolling from that point on. But he does that. He puts those little things just at the right time. It's, God knows. He knows what you're doing, what you're going through, and he always gives you an out. There's a verse that
Yep.
you
I know what it is. Yep.
you
He'll
may
always
be
give you a
tempted.
way through it. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
There will always be temptation, but God always provides
Way out.
a way out or a
Mhm.
way through it.
Yeah.
So, but you have to make the choice. So
Yes.
it's like I could have just easily turned the radio on and started jamming and just forgot about it, quit praying or anything. But nah, the card was sitting right there in the center console, and you have to be able to identify it.
Right.
And the sooner you can identify it, the easier it is, which is what we've learned in our marriage, is the sooner you can identify your struggle or where Satan's trying to get you, the easier it is to correct it.
Right.
Because the longer you go
Yeah, you don't
without,
want it to go too far.
right,
Yes.
the harder it is to get back. So it's just been a great journey. I couldn't think of anybody better to go through it with. God knew what I needed.
Nobody else to put up with you.
Oh, hashtag.
You know what
Just
I
saying.
what I just love when I look at you guys is that you guys truly are the embodiment of a partnership, you know? And when I think of marriage, that's the way I like to think of marriage. It's more a partnership, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
And I love that because I can see the balance with you guys. You know, it's really cool.
That reminds me of the story. When we first got married, I was working, and I told her, I said, look, as long as you don't have to work, you don't have to work. I said, but you know, do something, volunteer at the church, you know, donate your time, just do something. So I came home. We'd probably been married a year or so, and I came home and there's dishes in the sink, just a bunch of dishes, and I'd work like 10 hours, and I'd come in the house. And
It
I'm like,
wasn't a bunch. It was like 3.
let me have
See,
this.
that's why I'm here.
Let me have this fish story. Come on. Fish was that big. So there was dishes in the sink. And I told her, I said, look, I'm not trying to be all caveman on you. I'm like, but man, I've been at work for like 10 hours. The last thing I need to do is come home and there's dishes in the sink. You know, and she was very humble about it. She got up, she did the dishes, didn't say anything about it. So probably 2-3 weeks later, I actually had a day off. And I'm at home and I'm chilling and I ain't cleaning nothing, I ain't doing anything. She was out doing something. She comes home.
I was at work at that point.
Were you?
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 years later. We had kids by that point. Yeah.
So she comes home and there's dishes in the sink. And she's like, I've been at work 8 hours. Last thing I need is to come home and have dishes in the sink.
Touche.
Yeah. What could I do? I got up and did the dishes. I'm like, hey, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. But that's the biggest part. The give and take, the identifying it, seeing it, knowing it, dying to self. You know, there's a lot to it. And there's,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
you lose one little part of it, and it gets a little hairy. But
Yeah.
there's a lot to it.
We have a saying, too. You want to chew that up and spit it out again?
Oh, yeah, that's helpful. Very helpful.
Because sometimes it doesn't come across the way you want it to. And we know that they didn't mean it that way because we know our spouse. So we're like, you want to chew that up and spit it out again?
Gives you a second chance.
Yeah. Yeah. There's your out.
That is huge.
The easy button.
Yeah.
What's the other one? Oh, the other one is, I love you, baby. Mm-hmm. You all right? She's like, yes, I love you too. I don't like you very much right now, but I still love you. Mama needs her space.
Exit stage left even.
Yeah, exactly. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell. Like you said, no real 2x4 upside the head. I've always been kind of a learner from others. I've always been the one to just kind of sit back and watch and see what's happening and learn how not to do things and how to do things, which when I was younger, non-Christian, that wasn't a good way of doing it. Well, it was good for me because it kept me out of trouble, but I wasn't using it for the right purposes, you know. So learning Christ and getting into the church and everything, now I know, hey, God's given me this awesome gift to use for the right purposes, which is my wife, you know.
But I think your dad's statement was your 2x4.
You know, I give you that. You're right.
Yeah.
That would be the 2x4. That would be the eye-opening moment right then and there, because that's what kind of turned it all to start going that direction.
Yeah, I
'Cause
would say so.
It was very deep what he said.
It was.
Absolutely.
I was thinking more, you know, as a dude, I'm thinking more of a whack. you know?
Yeah.
But you're right. That would definitely be my 2x4 for my turn,
Right.
you know, heading into, you know, my Christian growth. Without a doubt. That would be the one.
And how wonderful of him to recognize it
Yeah.
and do something about it.
That was definitely a God thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know how he feels because, you know, he like me right now, I brought my kids up the wrong way, right? And he had that same feeling. He brought them up the wrong, brought you guys up the wrong way, and he had a chance to right it, and I tried to right it, in the last 10 years, and what I have to do right now is just continue to pray.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just like McDermott said, Kim McDermott, same thing. He's like, look, I've done this. I've done it wrong. All I can do now is pray.
You know what, guys? Even when you do it right, you still got to pray.
Oh, absolutely.
Got that right.
Absolutely.
Even though you lead them down the right path, or they've been raised with it all their life, doesn't mean they're going to stay on that path.
Right.
Right.
You know,
That's hard.
it's hard because
Yeah.
they grow up, they get minds and ideas of their own.
Yep.
It's
Other
scary.
people start influencing them.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it changes.
That's what they say. If you don't teach them about faith, somebody will teach them how
About
not
something
to be
else,
faithful.
right.
Yep. That's it exactly. So, and then the other verse is, raise them up in the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
and they will not stray from it. So
Right.
they may vary, but
Right.
they'll come back.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've said this before, but I believe if the Holy Spirit got a hold of you early on and you made Lord your Savior and everything else, and then all of a sudden, like you said, they grow up and they're in their early 20s and they start to go, do their own thing and everything else. If they truly gave their their life to the Lord back then, I believe that the Holy Spirit will bring them back around.
Right.
My sheep know my name.
That's
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that flame doesn't go out.
Right.
It may burn down,
Mhm.
but it's always in there burning. And because I remember before my walk, there was always something there, and I would intentionally make the wrong decisions. Know it, you know what I mean? Be like, I shouldn't do this. Let's go. I mean, it's dumb,
Yeah,
but
kids
I was
do that all the
yeah.
time.
So, but again, not raised in the church, but I just thought of something. One of the coolest things is as I started to learn the Bible and I started to learn, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, so on and so forth, I started to realize that even though we didn't go to church, my mom was implanting that in us because she went to church a lot when she was younger.
The morals and
The morals and everything. Yeah, she implanted a lot of that in us that I had no idea. I didn't even realize it was there until after got married, got Christ, got married, started actually learning. It was like, oh, my mom used to tell me this, and then it's like, oh, hey, look at there. I was going to church when I was younger.
Your mom was sneaky.
She was, yeah. She's good about that.
She is
She's
good
good
about
about kind of just getting it in there, and you're like, oh, why
She
did
was
I just
probably a praying mother too.
I'm
Oh,
sure
yes.
she was. She is
With
for now,
3?
for sure.
Mm.
I know
Oh.
for a fact she is for now. I didn't know back then if she was or not. I would.
I would almost guarantee it.
Yeah.
With the 3 of you, yes.
Ooh, those praying mamas
Oh,
and
yes.
praying grandmamas. I
Yes,
tell you,
ma'am.
they change the world.
They
Well,
do.
you're not kidding.
Please, God, don't give me strength because I'll kill him. Just give me wisdom.
Wow.
That's where that patience
it,
comes
Ma?
into.
Was it Tyler Perry? What does he play? Medina?
Yes.
Is
Medea.
it
Medea,
Medea.
yes.
Yeah, it's, you don't know me. I'm still walking out my Christianity. I'm still working it out. Dude. You don't know me.
Oh my
Always pray for wisdom and not
That's
strength.
right.
Yes. Yes.
That's right. Work out that salvation. That's amazing. Hey, thank you guys for coming by.
Yeah, really.
Thanks for having us.
What an awesome show.
I love this place.
You're welcome anytime, man. It's always open door for you.
Don't offer me that, man. I'm a talker.
I know you are. And there's going to be times when we'll have a chance to chat on certain subjects, and when we don't have a live guest, man, you want to just come on by and chat with us and interject. We'd love it.
I absolutely will do.
Yeah.
I would love
I
it.
hope you mean that because he will take you up on it.
Oh, I hope he does.
Well,
I do mean that.
We'll bring her too.
Okay. Yes. Away from the kids. Yes, I will be here.
now that they're getting old
No.
enough to watch themselves, man, it's
Yeah.
like, hey, y'all don't kill each other. We're leaving.
Lock the doors. No,
That's
I do. I
amazing.
love my kids. My kids are awesome.
We
I
do.
can't complain. My older one, even though she's a teenager, she stands her ground. She doesn't care what other people think, which is awesome at that age.
Yes.
It's really
Yes,
refreshing.
it is.
It
Really
is.
refreshing to see when mommy and daddy aren't around. She can hold her own. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
walks it out. She believes it.
Yeah.
It's super cool.
Where does your 14-year-old go?
Right now, she's at home. She's
homeschooled.
Florida
okay.
virtual, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we saw all this.
My Aubrey did Florida virtual too.
See?
How about
that? That's awesome.
Because of well, she's immunosuppressed because she was on dialysis, so she couldn't go
gotcha.
to school.
Yeah, I don't want to risk that. Absolutely.
No, yes, Florida virtual was very good.
Yeah, and actually gets them a head start for college.
It really
too, so.
does.
Yeah, it's great.
But hence that's why we, like we were talking about before, we do all the bonfires and all the gatherings and stuff to get everybody over there. So she still
Keep
has
her social.
a lot of social aspect. Wednesday nights at church. You know, a couple of her friends are doing virtual school too, so we'll take them over there. They'll do school together.
Yeah.
You know, pick them up. So
Yeah. Well, my younger one's still at Imagine. She's at a charter school, so she's still in school up until 8th grade, which is awesome because middle school can be really hard too.
Yes, it can.
So it's nice that she can stay in the same school up and through 8th grade. So it's nice.
Yeah.
it is awesome.
Yeah.
But that's me in a nutshell, man.
Okay. Well, that's session 183. Fred.
Yes, it is. The great Ray Flannery.
And the
Finally.
amazing
And Sarah.
And the
And
amazing Sarah.
I was
Cape
trying to come up
flying in
with
the wind.
Yes,
No capes, darling.
No capes. No capes. No capes.
who bailed you out that one night when everybody was giving you questions?
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
I think it was session 160. I don't know.
160?
Yeah, it was Sarah. Yeah,
Yeah.
because at the end he was like, "Dude, your wife is amazing. She's handling the boards." She's like, "I just gotta watch."
Maybe
there's a
that's
couple-
my calling. Maybe I should do that more often.
I was awesome. I was just sitting here looking like, wow.
Yeah.
She's like the GSR liaison right there on Mixler. And I'm like, man, I could get used to that.
Well, I was patiently waiting to see if anybody else is doing it. I'm like, okay, I can go.
Absolutely. You're welcome to log on anytime and answer
Sure,
questions and
sure.
things like that. Please do.
I was
Man,
very,
I-
yeah, I was very proud of her for taking that first step because, like she said, that's her hardest part is to take the first step. You know, well, overthinking. When you told me she was diving in, killing it, I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
Oh, that was such a blessing to watch. You know, I can use the help. I got a lot going on back here, so I can always use the help. I appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
No problem. I'll make sure Thursday night, man. I'll be on.
Right here.
Right here.
Awesome.
Work from home.
There you go. Come to work in a box in a box.
There you go.
GSR Studios.
You know, this is kind of like your war room. I
Yeah.
was thinking about it.
Ooh.
I walked in and I could feel God's presence in here.
There's
I'm like,
many times I've come out here just to escape
Yeah.
life in there, and
I'm
Hash-
sorry. I have to
hashtag-
laugh.
hashtag
I
just
have
saying.
to.
hashtag
Just saying.
just saying. But it is. It's nice. Like you said, I hope the Spirit always stays here, and
Yeah.
Holy Spirit's here, and it's great.
Without
Yeah.
a doubt.
Mhm.
I looked every time Mikey was asking earlier. He's like, "Well, so you know, did you have to kind of coax her to come?" And I'm like, "Nope. She wants to come. She wanted to be here.
Yep,
I
that's
wanted to be
awesome.
here. You know, I love being in this room.
Yeah.
I do. This is it's so cool.
It
Like she
is.
said, it's the war room.
Yeah.
You know, it
Amen to
really
that.
is.
Mhm.
Amen to that.
And it may seem like just a studio. Like you said, 93 countries, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a big war room.
That's
Yeah.
big.
Yes, it
It's
is.
huge.
Mhm.
I love
Yeah, I
it.
always have to tell the story where I was having a pity party and I didn't invite anybody, and I just I was praying. I'm like, God, you know, I don't want to be this mamby-pamby Christian. You said in your word that we would see greater things and we would see, bigger things than even what you accomplished. So when do I start to see those things? And I mean, just as plain as day, God Stories Radio.
Mhm.
In fact, he may even said GSR because we say GSR
Mhm.
quite a bit, and I thought about that for a second, and I just started to chuckle. I'm like, really? You know, but the more I thought about it, 93 countries. He couldn't have preached in 93 countries. Well, he could have. He can do anything, but you know, he had to preach and teach in the synagogues.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, we can talk into a microphone and be heard in 93 countries, and I'm like, Father, forgive me.
Yeah, Mike and I were talking a couple Wednesday nights ago, and we were looking at the likes, and we were looking at the downloads and all that, and he's telling me all the downloads, and I'm like, man, that's impressive. He's like, oh, well, yeah, you know, I'd really love it to be bigger. I'm like, so I started doing the math, and I'm like, you realize that's like 500 downloads per episode. And he's like, oh, well, when you look at it that way, I'm like, yeah, man, that's huge. I mean, you guys are impacting tons and tons of people. It's amazing. You impact me.
Well, we appreciate that. And
Absolutely.
We just feel like 3 people in a box,
Oh,
you know?
man.
we're just trying to be good stewards. It's his gig, and we're
Yeah.
just trying to be good stewards of it, and hopefully we are. And
Well, he still has us here, so
Yeah.
yes, he does.
You're doing something right.
And,
And-
and you're staying humble.
Yeah, exactly.
He's working through you.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? He won't do the work for you.
right.
He'll do that work through you, and he's working through each and every one of you.
I felt led today to post a fundraising campaign on Facebook, and I can't tell you how difficult that was, but I felt the nudge, and that it was the time to do it.
Well, we've been talking a lot about how much we need sponsorship in order to grow God Stories Radio.
Yeah, we have to.
well,
Yeah.
not only that, but some of the equipment in here is old as GSR is.
Yes, sir.
So
It's old, or it's getting outperformed, because technology, you know how quickly
Oh,
it
yes.
moves,
Oh,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and
And
the more
then-
things that we add, and the more things that we do, it's this old girl over here is she has served me well.
And
but
there are things that we would like to do more, like to our website. We would like to have an app where people could just, download the app and listen to podcasts
Oh,
directly
yeah.
from the app.
Mhm.
So there are a lot of different directions that enhancements we would like to make, but it's all in God's timing.
Right.
And these things, they take commitments, financial commitments, in order to be able to
Absolutely.
do them.
because there's Real Life uses a company called Subsplash, and so does TV 45, Bethel,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the larger churches. And I spoke to them, and I said, we're just a small podcast. We pay for everything out of our pocket. What does it cost to do something like that? And they gave me the numbers, and I said, well, at this point we don't have any sponsors. We don't have a company or somebody that's committed, so the monthly thing would be impossible to do. And man, they came back and gave me several different more quotes, and that were way less. I mean, they were really trying. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just praying that somebody will feel a tug on their heart, to
Well,
give on
I'm-
a monthly basis,
well,
that we can do that.
right, and
Yeah.
I think it has to be more than someone. It's going to be a bunch of somebodies.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying there.
Right.
It's hard for me to talk about it because,
Right.
and Mikey and I were dead set against it when
Absolutely.
when we
Yeah.
started the podcast. And
I said, "There's no way."
I don't want to be that guy, begging for money. So.
Nope.
But if you've enjoyed the podcast over the years, and God, tugs your heart, please press the button. We could sure use it. Tax time's coming.
Tax man is coming. Yeah,
Woo!
a couple months.
I didn't even want to think about that.
Yeah.
So,
But we had a guy come in. I don't know, it was around session 50 something, after that long, and he said he came in and told us that he believes God told us to put a donate button on the
yep.
Oh, wow.
on the
Yep.
website, and Rex doesn't mince
Doesn't mince
words.
words. That's
No.
right. Yeah. He's
He,
man.
he walks with the Father. So
Amen to that. So.
Hey, can I pray for you guys?
Ah,
I'm
feeling
absolutely.
yeah.
Tug here to pray for you
Buddy,
guys.
when you get the nudge, man, we're all ears.
All right, you guys good? You ready?
Ready.
Yeah, let's do it.
Lord, I pray that you will be with GSR Radios, that you
Amen.
will put this podcast in front of all the people that need to hear it, Lord. I pray that you will bless them with the direction and the provision to spread your word through each and every Christian testimony, Lord. I pray that you will continue to grant them the desire to do this program, for they are touching so many people, Lord. And just, Lord, I pray that you allow them to continue to be humble. Let them know that asking for help is okay. And I pray that the right person that you wish to help take care of this program and this movement will hear this podcast and know that this is the direction you wish for them to go. Lord, you are glorious and you're wonderful and you're amazing. I just pray, Lord, that you will be with each and every person here in this room and everybody that is listening to this podcast. It's in Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Wow,
Thank
amen.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Alexander Ray on the mixer tonight. I see you, buddy.
Hey, Alexander.
Hey, yeah, we're about to wrap it up, Alexander, but I'm glad you tuned in, man. It's good to see you, or virtually see you, kind of thing. But we love you, buddy. I'm
So
glad.
I want to hit on some highlights from their testimony. Things
Hit 'em,
that
baby.
I think that people should stand out. So fellowship, how important fellowship is. Get connected.
Amen.
Leadership by serving.
Mm-hmm.
And then now talking about the Word of God. You've got to get in it. You've got to learn it, apply it, use it in context.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Amen.
Hearing God and having faith. Sometimes it doesn't always happen as a direct conversation with you. Sometimes it's through other people.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I wrote down as a woman, of course, is see her needs without her telling you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
We call that a girl thing. You should know what I'm feeling. You should know.
And that was in the book that I was reading. I read it a couple times already, just getting ready for whenever God brings that special someone for me. That it's her essence. You have to recognize her essence.
You travel
You don't-
down to the baked goods every once in a while?
Just saying.
Hashtag.
What's going on?
I don't know.
I totally missed
Yeah.
that.
I think it's a guy thing.
It
Well,
must
you know.
be.
You got to get out of your section once in a while. You got to get out of the boat, whatever you want to call it.
Uh-huh.
We love you, Mike.
I know.
Mike is such a good sport.
He is.
All I can think
Oh,
of was
man,
that,
he's
what is
been-
that blue sky.
Been with me since day one. Man.
That's funny.
We love him.
We sure do.
The Rock.
There he is.
He's
Yeah.
awesome. He really is.
You bet. All right, man. That's session 183. What a great time.
Yes, it was.
Yes,
It was awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. We so appreciate you guys for coming.
We
Definitely.
had fun, but the messages were there.
Yes.
You better believe it. You got that right.
And I like the way you point that out. I like the way you hit the topics, hit the highlights, and
Yeah.
just kind of wrapped it all up there in the end. That's super cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be listening for that now. You know what I mean?
Uh-oh.
You know,
No,
she
it's-
started that recently. We were always wondering what she was doing over there, and she jots things down, and it's quite relevant. You know, when you hear it back. You
Yeah.
know, I mean,
Yeah.
we've been talking for over an hour, and then when you hear those things back, you're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
did say that.
Yeah, it could kind of get lost, in all of the, in all the camaraderie and everything. The actual message could kind of get lost. So bringing it up at the end as like a recap, that's just awesome. That is a great idea.
This is a guy speaking to that just listened to all 180 sessions in the last 5-6 months.
So if God is speaking through you right now, what I'm hearing is I need to keep doing this.
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing.
It's not me.
Hashtag.
Just saying.
There you go. I am going to put that in the title.
You
I
should.
I don't know
Absolutely.
what the title's going to be, but hashtag just saying will be in the,
Hashtag just saying. So listen.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Perfect. All right. Thanks for hanging out with us. We love each and every one of you. Visit us on GodStoriesRadio.com, and you can watch our TV 45 appearance with Barbara Beck on Welcome Home, and you can see our faces for radio.
Yeah.
Right there, you can enjoy the Thanksgiving special. It's wonderful. It's right on the front of the website. You won't have to go digging for it. It's www.godstoriesradio.com, and if you scroll down just below that, there's something that says donate. But anyway,
Hashtag just saying.
hashtag you rock. You rock. You can give your testimony and still have fun. There's no rules there, Gosh, we love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for loving us and supporting us and praying for us. It means the world to us. And if you get time and you've been touched by the podcast, drop us a line, godstoriesradio@gmail.com. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, godstoriesradiotina@gmail.com, and she will get you scheduled.
Yes.
I love they said
In
it same way.
unison.
Yes.
Tina's like, man, my job's getting longer and longer and longer.
As she would say it, I'll schedule you straight away.
Well, we had 3 people that contacted us that had actually watched Welcome Home.
Yeah.
And wanted Tina to put them down for
I know it.
testimony.
How exciting,
That's awesome.
Yep.
isn't it?
It's been very exciting.
It's
Yep.
great.
That was a by the way, that was a great. We both actually, my wife and I got to watch it in different places, and we ended up watching it at the same time.
and
No
didn't
way.
know it.
Yeah, we didn't know it. We didn't know
No
it until
way.
later that day.
Wow.
So, but it was amazing. It was great, seeing you guys on TV too. Being part of this and seeing you on TV, and I was like, man, it the exact same. It was just steady the whole time. What you see here is what you see there is what you see at church, which is what you see, everywhere you guys go.
Nice.
So
It's
it was
awesome. Thank you for saying that.
Yes.
Well, we've
Appreciate
had the fortunality to cultivate a very nice relationship with Barbara Beck, and she has been wonderful in staying in contact with us and talking with my wife frequently. And we just love her, and we love TV 45. And hopefully, Mr. Steiger will one day be joining us here on God Stories Radio.
You mean Steve?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that guy's talk about a compelling testimony.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I saw Joe Burke Monday night, and he said he watched it, and he says, you guys nailed it.
Oh, I love that guy.
Yes, sir.
Very special guy.
Yes, he is. He helps us in many, many, many ways.
So
Hashtag man
talented.
carpet. We're going to leave that one at that.
Uh-huh.
And if, Joe Burke's rolling on the floor right now.
Probably.
Listening.
Probably.
So
Tina's noting that.
That was a highlight.
That was a highlight of the podcast.
Oh gosh.
please feel free to ask him when you see him. Just go up to him and ask him what that means.
I'll let Ray ask that
yeah.
question.
Yeah.
He'll gladly tell you.
Oh, I know.
Oh, gosh, he's funny. He is so funny. All right, guys, we could stay here all night.
Yes,
I know you
we
could,
could.
Yeah,
too.
we could.
Alexander, thanks again for being with us, and everybody that's tuned in with us on YouTube and Mixler and Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, all the different venues, resources that we have to listen. We just appreciate each and every one of you. All right, that wraps it up for session 183. I'm Fritz.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Tina.
God bless you.
God bless.
God bless.